Do you have an amazing ecom product idea but don't have the money to get it started? This video is your solution. I'll show you exactly how big businesses like Gymshark, Whoop, Amazon and tons more started with nothing and went on to make millions in sales, or billions if you're Jeff Bezos. And in fact, it's exactly how I built an ecom business whilst being a poor student all the way to become an ASOS partnered brand. In this video, I will help you start with nothing to design an MVP, iterate on that MVP, and get a finished product in your hands. If you don't use MVPs, you'll end up either wasting your life savings on a product that's just rubbish, or you'll end up sitting on ideas for the rest of your life while everybody else gets on with theirs. So first up, what is an MVP? And no, it's not a most valuable player, although in business, in this context, it kind of is. A MVP is a minimum viable product. So it's the cheapest and easiest way to test your idea without wasting any money. And everyone does this. When they started, Amazon was a bookstore that didn't own any of the books that it sold. When they made an online sale, Jeff himself would run down to the local bookshop, pick up the books that sold, package them up, and ship them off. Exclusive news, Jeff invented drop shipping, I guess? Don't quote me on that, I don't have a clue. So how do you create your own MVP for £0? And I will keep it to £0 because I love a challenge and I am a man of my word. So here's some examples of fantastic MVPs, and pay attention because your answer is probably in here. A trapdoor MVP. This is when you list a fully fledged product on your website, but just as the customer is about to get to purchase, it says either not in stock or not available. The Wizard of Oz MVP. You manually fulfill the service whilst making the whole thing look automated, just like the Amazon example a second ago. Pre-order MVP. This is selling a product before it's being manufactured, therefore paying for the production. Crowdfunding MVP. This is using Kickstarter, etc. to validate and fund the idea before you've made it. Dropship MVP. So instead of selling your own product, you'd sell others similar products. Then when you have enough money, you would get your own product in and switch them out. Outsourced MVP. This is using manufacture-on-demand platforms to get a very rudimentary version of your first product into customers' hands. By now, you will have caught on that there's tons of MVP options, and most of them have cool names to make them seem more fun and interesting. Although, I do love MVPs. And now you might be thinking, well, all of those options you just mentioned there still cost some money, right, Joel? And now I welcome you to open your mind. Here's a bundle of tools that you can use completely free to build every single one of those MVPs that I just listed. Free version of Canva for branding. The free version of ChatGPT for content generation and copywriting. And when it comes to the website hosting and purchasing, if you can't afford a platform, then don't. Most social media platforms have some sort of feature where they can display products completely for free, and some of them you can even purchase on. If your preferred platform you aren't able to make a purchase on, then use Stripe and get a custom payment link each time somebody asks to make a purchase. Just make sure to include your packaging and your shipping costs into the item price, and this entire process is completely free. You might think nobody's going to buy my stuff if it doesn't have a proper website, and yes, it does make the job slightly harder, but I know several companies in my own city that have started on social media taking orders through there, and now you wouldn't have a clue that they ever started with such humble beginnings. For those of you who are old enough to remember LimeWire and Pirate Bay, i.e. me, there's still platforms out there just like that. For example, I just wrote the script for this YouTube video on a version of Microsoft Word that I can guarantee that Bill Gates has not seen his fair share on. Not that I would do that, YouTube gods, please don't smite me. Hopefully by now you have an MVP idea that fits your budget. So let's move on. Step 2, iterate your MVP. So you've launched your MVP and you're not embarrassed about it? You've launched too late. It needs to be so bad that it stings a little. Otherwise you've spent time and money building something that isn't right, and you'll be emotionally connected to it, which is a bad thing at this stage because you won't make the necessary changes. This is when you need to remove your ego from the project and essentially be okay with being okay. This next step is about making tiny changes each and every day that rolls by. Start by defining your most important metrics for your MVP. Each day, track that data and make tiny changes according to what that data suggests. For example, if you test new product pictures on your social media platform and engagement rate goes up, keep those changes. But if you rewrite your main heading on your website and the amount of pre-sale signups that come in per day drops, then revert back to what it was before. It may seem slow at first, but give it 10 to 12 weeks of making iterative changes and I can guarantee your MVP will be performing much better than it was at the start. And even more importantly, you'll know exactly why. You'll know what people do want and you'll know what people don't want, which is critical for success. Pro tip, try to only make one major change at a time. If you make multiple major changes, you won't know which one has affected it and which one hasn't. Make a copy of our framework below so that you can do this whole thing with precision. This brings us to step 3, which is getting a finished product in your hands. Making enough money from your MVP to afford your first batch of products is an excellent way to validate your idea without any risk. By this point in the process, you should have an active website and a solid way of getting new customers to that website. With those two components, you should now know that if you bought a batch of 25 products from your supplier, then it will take roughly 30 days to sell them all, or whatever your numbers are. So now it's time to take the leap. It should be as simple as adding a buy now button or simply swapping out what products you're sending to people. Another critical aspect to succeeding with your MVP is to build a detailed, perfect customer avatar. This tool means you can focus on the people who are most likely going to buy your product and stop wasting your budget and your time on all the people who aren't. And if you want to learn more about that process, you can watch that video here or here, I don't know which side it is, and I'm not here to sell you anything. So go build your MVP. If you have any problems, drop me a comment down below. Good luck, everyone.